So in this little video, it should be pretty short. I'm just going to review an Android car stereo that I bought about 2.5 years ago. I'm going to be replacing it soon, and I just wanted to do my opinion review because I've used it off and on for about 2.5 years in a car that I mostly drive in the winter and to car meets. In those years, I've learned a few things and so on and so forth. Well, I've learned a couple things maybe. But I just wanted to point out the nice things that I thought about the stereo over the time and the things that I really feel like that platform could improve on. But anyway, with that said, let's jump into the car and give you all the basic info on this thing. So let's start off by giving you some basic information about this stereo, which I will put up on the screen here. Okay, so now that you have that information, you can go online and look and see all the other car stereos using Android. And the overall design is pretty similar. When you get a non-CD DVD player one, you have a slightly bigger screen, have these basic buttons, and a little SD card and USB slot there. For me, some of the issues right out the gate when I got it was I thought I didn't look too much at the pictures, or I made assumptions, or they didn't show it. I don't know. It was 2.5 years ago. But I thought there were two SD card slots. So my plan was one for GPS, download maps, all that fun jazz. And the other I was going to use to put music on. Well, it turned out it only had one SD card slot. But, they do provide you USB little lines. So here's where my music is stored. With that said, let's show you the boot time real quick. I'm assuming I have it. Yep, there we go. One of the cool features is in the kind of like an admin menu, you can specify different manufacturers for the loading screen. The only thing that sucks is it's a long loading screen. And we will also see here, I had an issue for a little while on this unit that it would boot up like this and then it would restart itself. Let's not play music. And if you notice, when it's first booting up, it's not very responsive. Well, let's just go back to the home. So, one of the things I noticed that I didn't care for is this right here. This music player cannot be removed from the screen. So let's say you wanted to use like Winamp or something like that. This model didn't allow it. So I think that design is kind of shoddy. I'm not really a big fan. But, whatever. With that, it also hindered, because what I wanted to do was, when I got it, I installed Torque. And I wanted to install Torque widgets that, I could have display at least a couple gauges just on the main page there. Well, when you have these things consuming your space, last thing you want to do is have to get into your car and then swipe over. I prefer to just get in and drive. So that was annoying. Plus, another problem I have with it, once it opens, is the folder navigation of this. I'm hoping the newer stereos are better. Maybe. But the reason I'm replacing it is also on my stereo, this bottom strip here, the touchscreen, has quit working. So sometimes you can maybe get to something. Nope. Okay, well, that sucks. But you can get to track listings. My problem with this was that when you would pull up that folder icon in the bottom, it would just... I didn't like the layout. It, like most, standard car stereos, like what's in my Scion, things like that, it'll display it by folder structure. So that made it, to me, a little easier, but in this one, it would just go through and show all of the tracks. I couldn't navigate to a folder, then look for tracks, things like that. So that's one issue. So here, usually you would push that right there to get to, settings and things like that. There we go. I finally hit, apparently the one little spot that could work. Another problem I have with this stereo is, let's see if I can show it. Yeah, Play Store. So, well, let's give you a view there. So, I have Wi-Fi. You can see the icon. I go into the Play Store. Let's see if that... Hey, look, the app isn't installed. And it's updating offline maps right now. That's great. Okay, so the clunkiness of this, I still feel this idea is still kind of new. What I'm also finding out is most of these stereos are made by some company in some other country. Different companies here slap their name on it. Like, I think this one's Pumpkin. I can't remember. They don't have it labeled anywhere. But I feel like with the hardware, when I bought this one, the hardware wasn't that bad. I think it was like 1 or 2 gigs of RAM, decent processor. It is the equivalent of like a mid-range phone. It's not something that you'd go out and buy with a Samsung Galaxy or something, but it'd be more like a mid-range LG phone or the low-end Samsung or something like that. So that's why and I kind of figured, okay, these new, an Android car stereo, maybe the OSs would get updated, at least somewhat. Oh, hey, look. I had a problem before that the Play Store wouldn't actually come up. So, apparently, last time I used it, something wasn't right. Now it's working. But it doesn't seem like no one's really updating the OSs for these, which to some degree shouldn't be a big deal, but I feel like when you have generic hardware like this, oh, hey, look, I'm running low on storage. Okay, well, anyway, stereo has issues. We know this. I was going to show you some of the settings and just give... Oh, god damn it. This is the Windows type view they try to give you. It's painful. And I don't really have a way to get back unless I go to settings. Then you go to... Was it launcher, I think? Somewhere. Probably home. Because, that would make sense. Yeah. Anyway, that's the only way I can get back when I accidentally push it. But just so you guys know, here's the basic information about this tablet. If I can push it. There we go. So it says model number SO7. Whatever. Version info. So it's running version 5.1.1. 2016 build. Let's see if we can, yeah. You get it. But what I found is that no one really seems to update these. I would think with generic hardware like these, minus the audio chipset, I would just think that, hey, you could maybe get newer versions of Android, strip them down, things like that. But it seems like no one does it. Oh yeah, and when I bought this, anything over a gig of memory cost enough more that I wasn't willing to pay it. So yeah, I guess, well, let's see if we can find anything else. I'm just kind of winging it with this because I feel like there's a lot of things I wanted to talk about, but oh yeah, storage. So it only came with, oh wow, that's horrible. 2 gigs of onboard storage. Let's see if that will, of course it's not going to focus. Anyway, so 2.5 years ago, this thing cost like $250. The new one I got, I feel like may age better, and I'll introduce that in the next video when I install it. But yeah, as you can tell, even though I've rambled all over, and this device has not aged well, so I don't know. Torque runs reasonably on it. It connected very easily to the OBD2 scanner I bought. I didn't really do any research. I just kind of picked one, and it did work. So, yay, great. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I could go over more here, and if what few people see my videos actually have any questions, just ask them in the comments because I might be better suited to focus at that point. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good experiment deck because it was my first Android car stereo, and I learned some of the shortcomings. If the next car stereo I have ends up feeling like after 2.5 years it's garbage, then I might start looking into like Raspberry Pis or something else for a media player. But yeah, I guess let's just get to a summary real quick. So, with that ADD of a review, my short and sweet of it is if you're going to buy like an Android car stereo or something, buy something that at least appears to have decent hardware. Not in regards to, a big processor or something like that, but appears to actually have decent processing power, some cores, RAM that you would want on your phone. Because even though it's a car stereo, it's still going to be using the same applications used on your phone. Things like Torque, maps. Anytime you use those on your phone, they use the memory. And for me personally, like I like having Torque running, which is then using Bluetooth, having the radio play some music, and who knows what else you want to have hooked up because you can still have backup cameras, or in some cases, these stereos are even controlling displays elsewhere. I think this stereo shortcoming, because Android car stereos have been out for a number of years. I know they were at least out for like 4 or 5 years, and then I bought mine 2.5 years ago. I don't know the exact numbers, but they've come a long way, but they've still got a way to go. I'm hoping, because I did buy a new Android car stereo, flash sale, things like that. I'll give you the info in the next video once I actually open it. Spend a little more money, and also when, like this model that you got the model number earlier, that no matter how cheap it is, I would not buy that now. I mean, if you're only going to use it for playing music, you still might be let down. So consider that when buying. if you'd like it to be at least semi-responsive like your phone, you might want to consider that. But either way, it was a good learning curve. I feel like the market could do more with it, such as, if these companies would actually release new OSs that you just pay for to update your device to actually support newer things. I don't know. But anyway, that's been my review. This is my live and learn approach to trying different video types. I'm guessing it bombed, but we'll find out. If you like the video, like, subscribe. If not, well, do whatever. Thumbs down or something. Having questions, feel free to ask. And before I forget, the one main reason why my All-Track is going to probably always have an Android car stereo is I love using torque on this engine. Due to the fact I have an engine from Japan that has OBD2 on it, and I can configure torque to actually read what the ECU is running. That gives me more gauges where I'm not having to spend a few $100s to get all these gauges I would want to see the data of. So that was my reason. Remember that when you're buying something, that if it's a mediocre reason, you're like, oh, I just want it, then okay, maybe you can go cheaper, but that's on you. For me, with what I want it to do, I really shouldn't completely cheap out. I am a cheap person normally, but sometimes I need to not be. Anyway, have fun. Bye-bye.